Welcome to Mind Body Monday, and thank you all for joining me. Today's topic is how to thrive the holiday season without sacrificing your health. The subtitle I had to put in there was Heartburn and the Holidays. So in today's session, you are going to learn 8 ways to make the holidays heartburn-free and gut and health friendly. I'm going to share with you something called the secret power of the zigzag. So stay tuned towards the end so you'll know how to apply this to your life. I'm then going to share with you 3 quick tricks to do before and or after a big festive meal. And then we're going to have some live Q&A at the end. So think about it just for a moment. When are you most likely to gain weight, get bloated, feel fat, get down on yourself, and generally lift all the rules and forget all your good, healthy habits? The holidays, of course. That being said, most of my gut patients have their worst symptoms on Shabbos. And the last time I checked, Shabbos happens approximately once a week. And it takes them from Saturday night to Tuesday, Wednesday to turn the corner, overcome most of their distress, only to head back into another fiasco. I call this condition CRS because no medical syndrome will be complete without some sort of fancy initial. So I've called it CRS, which stands for chronic reversible Shabbositis. That's right, it's chronic. It's been going on for more than 3 to 6 months, mostly years. It's totally reversible, and Shabbositis, an inflammation of Shabbos. Obviously, that's not what it is, but that's our approach to Shabbos or Chagim or any festive meal is what's wrong, and we're going to fix that today. Because what's available for you and everybody is to leave Shabbos, to leave a festive meal, to leave a wedding, to leave a simcha, new and improved, better than before. And that takes a certain amount of intentionality and focus and some strategies. I'm going to share that with you shortly. So with the week of Hanukkah just around the corner and many holidays coming up, foods are often loaded with ingredients and food combinations that is a heart sufferer's nightmare. And Hanukkah specifically could be a gut disaster and a heartburn sufferer's worst nightmare. So let's see how we can address that today so you can feel fabulous and enjoy family time, and at the same time not feel deprived, and at the same time feel great. So I'm just curious, since this is our topic, holidays and heartburn, go ahead and type in the chat if any of you have had or have any digestive complaints or issues or symptoms, heartburn or otherwise, around smachot, weddings, bar mitzvahs, Shabbos kiddushes, Shabbos, Chagim. Just type in the chat if you've had any gastric issues or heartburn around these events. And while you're doing that, for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Avraham Gundle. I'm the founder and director for the Center for Integrated Medicine. I practice functional and integrated medicine. And over the last 30 years in private practice, I've been privileged to have helped many people recover from a whole host of health conditions, be it chronic digestive issues, anxiety, type 2, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, thyroid conditions, to name a few. And I'd like to just jump into the topic today. I'm going to share with you my 8 top tips for staying healthy during the holidays. And in researching this, there were about 50 tips that I've actually created, but it would be too cumbersome to share all 50. So I just took 8 for the 8 days of Hanukkah and 8 because of the magic that this number holds. So whether these tips are helpful, not only for the upcoming Hanukkah, but any holiday event or any time you sit down to have a meal during the week, over Shabbos, Chagim, at weddings, it doesn't make a difference. But if you begin with some of these approaches or apply them into your life, I'm sure things will be a lot easier. And I'll be very happy to hear if you are willing to write in and let me know how you get along. So the first one is to begin with the end in mind. Ask yourself, how would you like to feel when you leave the table, or when you leave the simcha, when you leave this celebration? How would you like to feel physically, emotionally? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel leaving stuffed and regretful? Or do you want to feel leaving that you've had an elegant sufficiency and grateful for the opportunity to have shared this event with friends and loved ones and feel good about yourself and your food choices? So there are 2 or more tracks we can take, but beginning with the end in mind makes us more intentional, which will lead me now to the second tip, which is to eat with intention. Eat mindfully. Now, this has 2 approaches. One is, yes, chew your food, salivate your food well. I'll get to that shortly. But I'm saying something else here about how you arrange the food on your plate and when you eat what you eat. Let me explain. When you eat with intention, there are many parts of this discussion, but the first part is fill your plate with about 60 to 70% or more of healthy choices. That's vegetables, whole grains where possible, less oily, fatty foods, but really vegetables, either cooked or raw or salads. When I go to a wedding, I'm always checking in with the waiter or asking for another little helping of the carrots or the cabbage or whatever is least, what can I say, least disrupted with modern cuisine techniques. So you want at least 70% of veggies on your plate, greens, etc. Avoiding the dips where you can, unless it's just pure olive oil. And about 20%, you'll have some sort of protein, especially non-fried is good. They generally have choices for a starter. Let's say, make a healthy, intentional choice, and then keep your carbs for last. And I'm going to get to this now. So firstly, this point is eating with intention. Load your plate up with a majority of the goodies. The majority of those things are making you feel good about yourself. They will also, vegetables are known to be healing and will turn off inflammation in the body, reduce the risk of heartburn because they are high alkaline and high water content foods. The third point is front load your meal. Now, this is a fascinating piece of research that researchers found that you can eat the exact same foods, which has the same calorie count, the same carbs, the same nutrients, the same proteins, but they'll have a drastically different effect on your metabolism depending on what you eat first. So eating carbs last is best because it's shown to reduce insulin levels and glucose levels when compared to eating them first. That's what I mean by front load your meal. In other words, eat the vegetables and the protein first and the carbs 15 or 20, 25 minutes later. That makes the world of difference. In a study, total glucose in the blood decreased by 38% when protein and vegetables were eaten first compared to when carbohydrates were eaten first. Now, this is amazing. You're not changing your diet. You're not changing what you're eating. You simply are changing the timing or priority of what you eat first. And this is amazing. I've used this with my patients in my practice, specifically with type 2 diabetes, when they're not yet ready to make radical shifts in their diet, but just as a micro step towards success is to at least eat the veggies first and the proteins and keep the carbs for last. Doing this will also reduce or totally avoid heartburn or other gastric distress symptoms. So one of the best ways to eat with intention and to be able to front load your plate is really point number 4, which is to spoil your appetite. So what this means is if you are a guest at a simcha or you're a guest at someone's home and you don't really know what the host will be serving or what's going to be had, or also when the meal will be served, the tip here is to eat something wholesome before you leave. Personally, I make myself a green smoothie or protein shake, or have a nice bowl of soup with some added nutrients into it. So when I go to the event, I'm not starving. My physiology and metabolism is not in the hands of others. I've made wise choices first, and I've set myself up for success, because what has been found, when you take the edge off hunger, then your glucose and insulin levels will be more regulated. You can make smarter choices, more rational choices, and hence more healthier food choices. And you won't be pulled in, or you'll be pulled in much, much less by the smorgasbord or whatever delights are there, because you've come in already nourished on a certain level. And that way you're not at the whim of the caterer or the host's timing and palate and food and menu, so to speak. And then if you choose to decide to have that delicious dessert or that cookie, then you can have the cookie and you won't be necessarily drawn into or compulsively finishing off the whole plate, because you've already come in with a healthy, spoiled appetite. Typically what I do when I go to a wedding, for example, is I take my own bread, because I want to be able to wash there with everybody and bench with everybody and enjoy the simcha, but I just don't do well with having, commercial breads and white rolls and etc. I will have my whole grain sprouted spelt or whatever I'm having. That way I'm able to get all the benefits and at the same time feel good about my food choices. Let's look at point number 5, which is really about pacing yourself and taking your time. This is part of eating with intention. This is part of eating mindfully. More people get heartburn and have gastric distress when they eat quickly and chew less. So by pacing yourself and eating slower and chewing more, you'll be able to thoroughly break down the food in your mouth. What people don't understand is that chewing mechanically breaks the food down and helps the enzymes within our saliva, salivary amylase and ptyalin and various other enzymes, break foods down mechanically and also a little bit chemically, so that when we swallow them, then the second level of digestion can occur, which is chemical digestion through the various enzymes in our gut. What's interesting, if you haven't chewed thoroughly, then stage 2 will not be able to occur at all, or occur very inefficiently. It's a little bit like stages on a conveyor belt. If stage 1 hasn't been done, then stage 2 in the production line will either get messed up or won't happen efficiently. So it's so important to take your time, chew your food. This way you're able to savor all the delicious flavors and feel full quicker, and also enjoy the company while you take your time doing that. At the same time, avoid any sort of gastric distress. Let's look at number 6 now. Accepting substitutes. Now, I'm not proposing that everybody skips dessert entirely. I don't think that's a healthy long-term approach. But you still can make smarter choices. If there's a fruit option, then choose that. If there's 2 desserts and one is higher in the foods that you know may cause you to regret that choice, then perhaps a teaspoon of that, and then have something else that's a relatively more wholesome choice. So you're still at choice, you're still eating with intention and making choices. And as you're doing that, become aware of any thoughts or emotions that come up. Is there FOMO going on, fear of missing out? Like, I'm not going to be able to have that. And because that is a big part of eating with intention, eating mindfully, is clearing away those inner voices that keep us from being at our best. Now, what I'm going to share with you now doesn't directly relate to approaching dessert and accepting substitutes, but it relates to making healthy choices. And I was just sharing with patients last week in my practice. What people don't know is that about 20 to 30% of all diseases are genetics-based, 20 to 30%. What this means is 70 to 80% of diseases can be avoided through healthy choices, lifestyle choices. The choices you make, the activities you make, the company you keep, the sleep you get, the stress you deal with, etc. All of the lifestyle stuff actually is more potent than the 20 to 30% genetic piece, because it's the 70 to 80% that actually affects what's called the field of epigenetics, which is the instructions given to the genes, whether they're going to express or not express. It's a little bit like the piano player sitting at the piano. The genes are the keys on the piano, but the piano player is the instruction giver, and that's the epigenetic component, is giving the instructions of what keys to be played in what order. So by making these small, consistent choices, you're taking advantage of leverage of that 70 to 80%, which over time will have a tremendous impact on the quality of your life. Let's look at number 7, which is building on the point that I've just made. Keep active. Now, most people think, after a big meal, maybe they don't think too much. It's just like everyone just wants to get onto the couch. Oh, I'm so stuffed, I'm so full, and they just get on the couch. Now, research shows if that's what you're going to do, there's a great likelihood of heartburn or some sort of gastric distress happening. A, because you stuffed yourself, you've overeaten, if that's the case. But B, when you lie down and the stomach is still full of food, then it's much easier for heartburn to occur, because the food will travel up to the lower esophageal sphincter, and along that with some very corrosive stomach acids, and cause some distress. So if a person is going to take a nap after a meal, it's good to at least have your head higher than your stomach, and this way offset the traffic going the wrong direction. What has been found helpful is after a meal to go for a short walk. Just a short, gentle 15 to 20-minute walk is super helpful for digestion. It helps to move the food around, prevent stasis. It helps to stimulate peristalsis, the movement of food in the colon. And it's a very helpful thing. And that's why at weddings and other simchas, if you can get up and dance, that is amazing for many, many reasons. And digestive reasons are just one of them in the hopper. So let's look at point number 8, which is really the last one. And that's called the Great Gut Reset. If you have overdone it, and we all do, we are human, we have many human moments, that's okay. But to know how to reset is the way to go. So if you've overeaten, then the quickest way to reset is to give yourself an overnight fast where you don't eat anything for about 12 hours. You can drink, have some herbal teas or water, etc. But not eating for about 12 hours is the minimum required to reset the gut. And once you feel confident in doing that, then you can begin to look at possibly working with your healthcare practitioner to extend that out maybe to 13, 14, 15, or even more hours, depending on what you want to focus on in your health. But if you've overdone it, just push off breakfast to brunch or whatever it happens to be. So your first meal will be at least 12 hours later. So this is a good time to sit up and take a nice deep mind-body Monday breath in. And a long out breath with a sigh. Research has shown when you make a sound like that, various sounds as you breathe out, it stimulates the vagus nerve, which resets your parasympathetic nervous system, calms your brain, settles your gut. Let's all do another one of those as well. Breathing in. As you breathe out, relax your shoulders and make a sound. Wonderful, wonderful. And that also puts a fun smile on your face, which stimulates dopamine, serotonin, gets the giggles going, as I see some of you are, and that's wonderful. Let's look at the next item I want to share with you. It's called the secret power of the zigzag. Now, I believe in balance in all things. And what the power of zigzag means is that it's not healthy emotionally to keep 100% strict on any health program for the long term, because I've seen people will crash and burn, so to speak, and go off everything and lose all the gains. What's more important is after the initial phase of anti-inflammatory or detox or whatever it happens to be, is then go on to a maintenance program where at least 80% of your choices are in the zone of health and well-being. Then you have 20%, which is called the zag. In other words, you're zigging 80% of the time. You're making good lifestyle choices, sleep choices, exercise choices, what you're thinking. All the 80% are lifestyle choices. You're in that zone, in the green zone, the majority of the time. That way you're cut down on disease, on inflammation, on unwellness, etc., and increase longevity, vitality, and well-being. 20% is the time where you get to chill, you get to enjoy the beauty of life in terms of the treats, etc., like that. And then it doesn't become a big feature. It's only maximum 20%, and that's called the zagging. So when you have that balance in place and you're able to find that balance and give yourself permission to do that for the long term, that is, then you'll have a wholesome balance. You'll feel good about yourself. You'll be able to share fun times with family, with kids parties, etc. Enjoy the fun foods, the less healthy foods, whatever they happen to be, the donuts, the waffles, the whatever happens to be. You'll enjoy them, the pizzas, because it's not the 80% of your lifestyle. It's only, max 20%. So that's called the zagging. The rest of the time you're zigging and you're enjoying it. And that way you have enough buffer to let your head down and enjoy all the delights that special occasions with family and friends have to offer without feeling guilty, without FOMO, and with durability for the long term. So I just wanted to share the power of zigzag, and that's personally how I practice during the week. I'm pretty focused on my health routine and health eating, enjoy it too, and over the weekend, Shabbos, holidays, etc., there's lots of margin for zagging and enjoying it with grandchildren, with children, with family and friends. Super. Let's look at 3 quick tricks to do before and after a big holiday meal. So what I do when I go out to special occasions, be it weddings or simchas or whatever, I do take along supplements. I either take them before I go or bring them in my pocket in a little sandwich bag or something. And there are 3 items I generally take. The first one are digestive enzymes. Regardless of where I am, life is not ideal, so to speak. We tend to chew less, eat in a rush, a lot of distraction around, and as a result, digestion gets compromised. So I take digestive enzymes before my meal, and that helps my body more completely digest the food. And what this does, it helps take away any gastric distress if there's going to be bloating or constipation or flatulence, etc. More importantly, or equally importantly, it will help the body to absorb the nutrients from the foods you're eating, because if it's not digested efficiently, your body can't absorb the food, the nutrients in there. So you'll be able to absorb that efficiently. That will go through your bloodstream and invigorate and strengthen your body. So that's a big part of health and well-being, is being able to digest food well. The second trick is to take a good quality probiotic. So this is also done before the meal. And I look for something with at least 10,000 colony-forming unit CFUs. There are many, many, many kinds. I've been in depth in my inner circle trainings about probiotics, which ones to choose, pitfalls. This is not the right venue for now, but just you can just reach for a general probiotic with at least 10,000 colony-forming units, and you'll be pretty much covered. For those of you who can make your own probiotic, be it sauerkraut or fermented vegetables, that is the way to go for the long term. It's cheaper, it's fun, and sustainable. Personally, I make about 5 to 10 kilograms of sauerkraut every 3 months with fresh ginger and anise, and most of the kids, not going to say all, most of the kids absolutely love it. And I'll make pickles as well. It's easy to do, and give yourself a little bit of grace as you're learning, because you may botch up it a couple of times. It's like making challah or a cake for the first time. You know, you're making something for the first time. Give yourself a little bit of bandwidth to make some error and get it right eventually. So those are the 2 strategies. The third one I'm going to leave you with is drinking peppermint tea or fennel tea after a meal has been researched to show relief on the digestive system, have a lot of benefits on the gastric system. So wherever you go, they may not have a nice quality peppermint tea, if that's what you like, or fennel tea. So bring the tea bag along. You can always find some hot water, and you make yourself your own tea at someone else's celebration. So you brought your own bread, you brought your own tea, you brought your own enzymes, you've eaten something before, and you're all set to have a fantastic time without getting, stuck on all the food that's there. You can just go and have a good time because you've set yourself up for success by being intentional, by beginning with the end in mind, by understanding that you want to leave here feeling better than before. When my patients come to me, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Avraham, I don't know what to do. I don't know. It's the challenge. It's the Friday night. It's the whole thing together. It's just not working for me. One thing, it's possible and doable, and it's my experience to leave Shabbos, Havdalah time, feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually rejuvenated. This is the highlight of the week. This is how it should be, and this is how it can be, but it does not happen automatically. It begins with at least these 8 tips that I've shared with you. These are things I practice in my life. I didn't wake up one morning doing them. It's taken years of bumbling around, suffering and struggling and helping others to figure out how to do this in a way that's sustainable, in a way that's fun, in a way that works and is respectful for the various needs that I have about engaging with all these special, special times. So just before I end with some questions, I want to thank each one of you for taking the time in. And if you're watching the replay, thank you again for watching the replay. You can leave some comments and I'll come back to you. Because it's by showing up consistently, like a lot of you have, you're able to constantly move your health and well-being to the next level. And Mind Body Monday is all about where self-care is the heart of healthcare. All you need to do is take one small step in the direction of health and healing in body, mind, and soul. Thank you for joining.